Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a project to share with you today. This is actually a journal that I created several years ago as part of a challenge. Someone had sent me a video and asked me to do a tutorial showing how to make this particular journal that they had seen someone else make. I cannot remember the maker now, but the video I think was on Instagram. It went really fast, and so as part of this challenge video I was doing at the time, they asked if I could recreate this particular journal. So as you can see, it's basically designed so that there are envelopes that open up, so it's very interactive, and it's held in place with a disc-bound system. The problem with it was, I think because of the way that the spine had that cut out for those 3 discs, it just really compromised the strength of the spine. And so this journal, just the cover kind of started bending and warping, and just really wasn't pleased with it. So what I'm going to do today is make a new cover for this particular journal. So I just thought I would share it because it's been in my stash forever. I have needed to do something with it, and sometimes it's okay to revisit something and kind of redo it. So you'll see me, what I'm doing here is I just pulled off the cover. You can see I had already pulled off some stuff that I had glued onto the front. I just didn't want to throw that away. So I have this piece of chipboard here on my desk. This is actually the backer board from a pad of paper, like the Bristol vellum paper, and it's really good heavy chipboard. So I always save those backers when I'm done with that paper pad. And I'm just measuring so that my cover will be approximately 1/4 of an inch past the envelopes on the top, the bottom, and the right edge. So I'm just trying to line this up. You can see this is actually a part of a really, really large pad. So I have already cut down on this one other time, but I'm just using my T-ruler here, and so I can get a nice straight line. I'm working off the straight edge of the paper pad, and then I'm just making the line. So I know that I think my cover ends up being, I don't know, like 7 1/4, 7.5 inches tall, something like that. And then I'm doing the same thing with the width, and I'm just making little dots kind of all the way down, little marks all the way down this chipboard, and then I will connect all of those with my ruler. That way I can just make sure that that line is nice and straight. And then I'm going to cut these pieces out. So I'm working on a mat that's a self-healing mat. I'm using a craft knife. This is from Tonic, but you can get lots of different kinds. And I'm also using the steel edge side of my Tim Holtz ruler. You always want to use a steel edge when you're doing something like this, because these blades can actually cut into other rulers. And another just tip, whenever you're cutting chipboard, especially really heavy or thick chipboard, it's a good idea to just make multiple shallow cuts. You just get a better, cleaner edge when you do that. So you can see me going over that multiple times, and then I'm just going to cut out the rest of these pieces. And then those other offcuts I will save, because those are good to replace spines of other journals and that kind of stuff. So the papers in this journal are part of a Felicity Jane collection. And I have some paper here that I got when they went out of business. So I have a stash of some of this Felicity Jane paper. If you've followed Felicity Jane at all, they were a subscription-based service years ago. They are no longer doing those paper goods. So I have a bunch of this, and I want to start using up my stash. It's really important to me to be able to do that. So I'm going to be going back through and doing some projects with some stuff that I've just had in my stash forever, so that I can try and use it up. And this Felicity Jane Christmas paper is one of those. So I cut down the 2 pieces of paper to give me about an inch on either side of my chipboard cover, because I needed a little bit of extra space to really be able to wrap this cover well, because this cardstock is pretty thick cardstock. So I'm covering both pieces now with some scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive. It's my favorite adhesive to use for this kind of thing. And then I'm going to pull the backer off, and I'm going to kind of just fold it down on itself so that I can use that little section to kind of make sure I can get this exactly where I want it before I press it down. It's super sticky tape, and so once you stick it down, it will stay stuck. So I want to make sure I have it kind of centered as much as possible within this page. Then I'm going to do the same thing to this other side, and then I will pull that release paper. It just makes it easier when you're handling sort of big pieces that are covered in that double-sided adhesive, because it's covering the entire thing. So the next step, I'm going to cut out the little corners, leaving space. I don't know if you can see here very well, but a little space between. I'm not going right up next to the corner of the chipboard. I'm coming away from it, and the good rule of thumb is to come away from that corner about the width of your chipboard. So what you see me doing here, I have my bone folder, and I'm just kind of going around and scoring all of the edges. And this is because, again, this paper is super thick, and I don't want it to crack when I'm trying to wrap it around to the inside of this cover. And so this just gives it the best chance of not doing that. Sometimes these really thick papers can crack if you're not careful. So kind of scoring it and kind of training it a little bit is very helpful. So I have another size of this double-sided adhesive. I'm just gonna put this down on all of the sides. I went down the two long sides on the actual chipboard, and then on the shorter sides, I'm actually adding it to the paper. And you'll see why here in a second, but it's basically so that this will now adhere over top of the other papers when I get them glued down. So I'm just going to pull this release paper, and I like to try to get a really nice wrap. So one of the things I'm doing, especially when I have really thick chipboard like this is I like to roll it kind of up on itself on the very edge before I fold it all the way over. So you can see I'm kind of rolling it up, and then I push it all the way over. It just gives it a really nice tight cover on there, so I don't accidentally get that paper down where I don't want it to be. And so I'm doing the same thing with the short ends, but I am adding just a little bit of art glitter glue right in the corners where there is no adhesive. No, there's no double-sided tape there. And then I'm just going to do that same process, just kind of rolling it up on the edge and then finishing kind of folding it the rest of the way. And I'll do that for both sides, and then I'll do that for the other cover as well. You can kind of see I had to trim just a little bit here where I did not cut enough of the excess away, so it would just have that nice wrapped mitered corner. And then this is another piece of Felicity Jane paper. It's the same collection. It's that Noel collection. And again, I'm sorry, these are just, no longer in business, discontinued papers, but, search your stash, see what you have, see if you're interested in something like this. But I am going to now trim this down so that it covers most of the inside. Sometimes I leave a little bit of a wider edge, but on this one, it's just a really thin kind of border. And then just cutting both of those down. And I didn't measure this at all. I just kind of eyeballed it and then trimmed it down, and then I will go through and add that same double-sided adhesive to the backs of these two pieces of paper, and just making sure everything lines up before I do that. Sometimes I cut things wrong and I have to redo it, but I'm just going to pull out that same 4-inch roll of double-sided adhesive. I'll be really glad when I'm finished with this roll. It's very helpful sometimes, but it's also a little bit unwieldy. Sometimes it's just a very big roll. And then I'm just trimming it down with my scissors here. And then I'll do the same thing when I'm adhering it, where I fold the release paper kind of back on itself, especially for this, because I want to make sure I have as much as possible an even border all the way around. So once I have both of those covered, I'm going to punch the holes in this. So what I decided to do is just take one of the envelopes to use to kind of line up where I need my holes to be. It's a great thing about the disc bound system is you can pull things in and out, which is why I wanted this journal to be that way, so that you could add other things into those little discs if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and just line this up where I want this to be kind of centered within my journal cover. And then I just marked it with my pencil, and I have the We Are Memory Keepers punch that punches for the disc bound system. But this chipboard is really, really thick, so it took a little finagling to get it in there. I had to kind of bend it a little bit. Once I got the first hole, it was fine, because then there's like a little edge where you line up for the next hole. And so once I was able to use that the way that you are supposed to, then it was fine. But just kind of starting in the middle where I was just kind of made it a little bit more difficult, but only because this chipboard is so thick, not because of the actual tool itself. It actually works really well. So anyway, you can see I'm just kind of struggling to get it in there, but I cut or punched those 3 holes, and then I'm going to add this now to the front cover. And this took a little bit of doing to get this onto these discs because, again, this chipboard is pretty thick. I probably could have gone with a thinner chipboard, but I wanted a really nice sturdy cover after the cover that I had on there before did not hold up well. So I went ahead and did the back, and this is what it looks like now. So I'll just flip you through all of the envelopes. That's a clear vellum one there, and then just a really fun and kind of interactive album to use this holiday season. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.